Hey guys, welcome back to Ashark Books. So today I'm going to be doing my March Part 1 wrap-up. So I've only read 4 books this month so far. I'm reading a 5th one right now, which I'll mention at the end, but I wanted to go ahead and do it because every time I wait till the end of the month thinking it's going to be a slower month, I get to the end of the month and I have way too many books to talk about. It just kind of gets way too long. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about those 4 now. I have been reading a little slower this month, and I think that's almost good because I really enjoyed the books that I have read, and it's kind of nice to slow down every once in a while, kind of take your time with the books. I also have been watching a lot of Netflix this month, so I feel like that's kind of played into it. But anyways, I'll go ahead and talk about the books I have read. The first one I read is A Night Like This by Julia Quinn. This is book 2 in the Smythe Smith quartet, I believe. This is such a good series. So I feel like the Smythe Smith series, which is like a spinoff of the Bridgerton series, doesn't get talked about enough, and it's so funny. So I've read the first, actually 3 books. I'm going to talk about the other one in a second. But if you've read the Bridgertons, or honestly, even if you haven't and you want something that's a little bit like shorter than the Bridgerton series, I highly recommend this series. It is just so funny. If you like humor in your historical romances or in your books in general, I just can't recommend this series enough. So this one follows Daniel Smythe Smith, who basically was exiled, I think it's like 4 years ago, because he took part in this duel that he should not have been taking part in, and something happened where he accidentally shot somebody. He got exiled to like other parts of Europe, like I think he was in like Italy and France, but he couldn't stay in England. And it's about Anne Winter, and Anne Winter is Daniel's cousin's governess. So the story starts off with Daniel being able to come back. So he finally can come back after 4 years because things have kind of been worked out in a way. And he meets Anne right after she gets beaten up. So he has like a black eye and he does not look very nice. And she, because she's a very nice person, decides to help him, even though she knows she can get into deep water by doing this, or hot water, not deep water. So Anne is a governess, but she has a very kind of mysterious past. And Anne may not be her real name, but she was such a great character to read about because you do kind of peel away her layers throughout the book, and you really start figuring out, you know, what happened in her past, you know, that made her kind of run and become somebody else. Also, just have to say, in this whole series, the Plainsworth sisters, who is her like charges, are hysterical. So it's 4 girls, but the oldest doesn't need a governess anymore. But the 3 younger ones, they're hysterical. Just their conversations are ones that I feel like group of sisters would probably have when they're young, and it was really worth reading. So I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. I actually read this one later in the month, but I'll go ahead and talk about it now. And so I did read The Sum of All Kisses, which is book 3 in the Smythe Smith series. So this one follows Sarah Plainsworth, who's the oldest Plainsworth girl, and it follows Hugh Prentice. So Hugh Prentice is actually the person whose family exiled Daniel Smythe Smith in the book I previously talked about. But from that duel, he had a really bad leg injury, so he basically walks with a limp, and he's had to kind of deal with that for the past 4 years. So he doesn't really see himself as whole, kind of. Was really sweet, but also really shows you how like opposites can attract, because Sarah, Hugh thinks, is the biggest drama queen like he has ever seen, and just like really goes over the top with everything. She thinks he's just like a grumpy, too serious kind of guy. So the 2 of them meet, and they're kind of enemies because she does not like him. He got her family member exiled. But obviously through a turn of events, they become closer, and they really kind of figure out like they're not who they thought they were. Hugh is really, really smart, so he's very good at math. He can do all these math equations in his head, so he's just a very smart man. And I think that's really nice to read, and not just a person who likes to like gamble away his money. He actually has brain cells in there. And then Sarah is just such a good character as well. She, you know, I like the fact that they show that other people might think she's kind of this over the top, like flirtatious kind of drama queen, but underneath she's got a lot of substance, and I just really enjoyed that. And the fact that she really showed Hugh that he was still a man. He didn't have to just be labeled as someone who had a kind of lame leg. There was way more to him than that, and just kind of bolstering his confidence in that was great. Again, the sisters, because they are Sarah's sisters, the conversations they have, particularly in one of the scenes that takes place in a carriage. If you've read this, let me know what you thought, because I listened to this on audiobook and I was dying. It was so funny. One of the sisters is obsessed with unicorns, so she's constantly talking about the fact that like all the plays that she reads, why does it not have unicorn? One of the sisters likes to write plays, so those are always hysterical. So I highly recommend this series if you want something very kind of more lighthearted in your historical romance. The next book I read was Make Me Bad by R.S. Gray. This is her newest release, came out a couple weeks ago, I think now. I love myself some R.S. Gray books. They're so good. If you want a romantic comedy that's just on point every time, you definitely can't go wrong with her books. Our female main character is a children's librarian, and she's 25, and she still lives with her dad, who is a cop, and he's very protective, very overprotective. So is her older brother, who is also a cop. Live in a fairly small town, and she just kind of feels like she's stuck. At least that's what I kind of got from it. You know, she turned, I'm pretty sure it was 25, not 26. And she kind of feels like she hasn't done enough with her life. So she just wants to kind of get out of this rut in some ways. The other main character, it comes from a very wealthy family. His family kind of owns like most of the town they live in. So he's very well known. She knows who he is from growing up, but he doesn't really know who she is. Though he gets himself into a little bit of trouble. He actually is a really great guy in the sense of like he's a lawyer, he's got his life together, but he does something he shouldn't, and he gets community service, and his community service is at her library. So they kind of meet, and it goes from there, and she asks him to kind of help her become bad. So she's got this list of things she kind of wants to do, I think it's just in the next like year or so, to kind of just shake up her life and kind of be a little more daring. She's pretty shy, she doesn't go out very much, that kind of thing. So she kind of just wants to become more than she is now. And there are all kinds of things on the list. So he goes about kind of helping her do some of these things. I thought it was a really adorable read. I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. It was definitely such a fun read. If you want something that's really lighthearted, but also does really, I thought, handle well the idea of someone just really wanting their life to change and feeling stuck, and kind of in a way though making the movements to kind of have that happen, which I really enjoyed reading. The happily ever after in this one was so cute, and I loved the ending. So definitely pick this one up if you are an R.S. Gray fan. And if you haven't picked up R.S. Gray, I highly, highly recommend her. And the last book I read was Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. So look how big this book is. Probably the other reason I haven't read too much more this month already. So I feel like I haven't talked about Cassandra Clare very much on this channel, and I think that's because I read most of her books before I started it, but I'm actually a massive Shadowhunters Cassandra Clare fan, and it was one of the first series that really got me, I'd say, like back into reading, especially reading YA. I read the Mortal Instruments like as they were coming out, and The Infernal Devices is my favorite series by her. So anyways, that's a long story short, just to say that this was actually a reread. I have read Lady Midnight back when it came out a couple years ago, but I haven't continued with the Dark Artifices? Yeah, I haven't continued with that series. I got behind, so I haven't read the last 2 books, so I needed to reread this in order to remember what the heck was going on. So I did that. I really liked this book. I think most people probably know what this is about, but it's set in the Shadowhunter world. It takes place at the Los Angeles Academy, and it's about Emma and Julian. So I gave this one 4 stars after my reread. I gave it 5 stars the first time, and I think it's not that even anything was bad about this book. It was just the fact that I thought it was a little bit too long, and I felt like there were some things that could have been kind of cut down and not maybe expanded as much as they were. I did love reading about Julian and the Blackthorn kids. I thought actually on the second reread, I actually enjoyed the family aspect of that more than the first time. Because the first time I think you're just trying to like figure out what's happening. I still love Emma and Julian. It's such a star-crossed love situation. It's got me totally stressed out about how that situation is going to work out in the next 2 books. Please don't spoil it down below if you've read them already, because I do plan on reading them. I I didn't want to read them like back to back because they're so big. So I think I'm gonna read the next one, was Lord of Shadows, I think next month, and then read the next one because I'm so excited for, is it The Last Hours, the new series that's coming out in November, because it's set back in time again with Will and Tessa's kids from the Infernal Devices, and I'm very excited. So I kind of wanted to finish this series before that one came out. So let me know if you guys like Shadowhunters too. I feel like it's such a good series, and if you haven't read it and you like YA, definitely check it out. Also, I really like the TV show. So if you haven't watched the TV show Shadowhunters, give that a go as well. Real briefly, the book that I am currently reading is Midnight Blue by LJ Shen. So I just started that last night, so I'm like 30% through, and it's like a rock star romance type thing with a very not nice guy and a girl who's kind of his like nanny, or like basically making sure he doesn't do bad things. So far I'm really liking it, and it's super addictive. So I'll let you guys know more about that in my month-end wrap-up. But anyways, those are the books that I read so far this month. Let me know any thoughts you have on these or if you've read them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.